What's good, everybody? The ambassador here, Theme Park ERT, and we are back for another awesome Enthusiast Roundtable. This is episode number 12. This one's a little bit unique in multiple ways. One, I am on location. I'm here in Texas, but we also have some guests that are actually from even further away. This is our official British invasion episode. Let's please welcome some of our guests. We have got, let's start over here with Luke from LukeE94. But is it LukeE94 or just Luke94?
It's LukeE94, my friend. How's it going, guys, from around the world? Pleasure to be here.
Dude, I am stoked to have you here. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. And then also we've got a fellow countryman. We've got Harry and Zoe from CoasterBot. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for taking...
excited.
Well, great. I'm glad. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to come and hang out with this American weirdo, but I'm so very grateful to have you both here. Well, let's start out with what's going on in the UK right now as far as parks. It looks like most of them are probably open right now, right? Is there any exceptions?
No, I think most of the parks are open in terms of, they have been since mainly the 4th of July. But what you'll find is some parks may be open, but not as open as they might normally be in terms of not all of the rides are operating, or over the past few weeks it's been quite staggered in the sense that the park opened with only a selection of rides, and then each week there's been a few more rides that have been added. So for example, at Lightwater Valley, the main ride to go there for, the Ultimate, isn't open. I don't think it's going to be open the entire year. I know. So but most of the big parks, Alton Towers, Blackpool Place Beach, Thorpe Park, all of their rides are open, so you can still go and experience those. Well,
that's good. I mean, but talk about the Ultimate being the ultimate social distancing coaster. I mean, why wouldn't that be open? It's like you're going to go out in the middle of nowhere next to no one. So
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning for it is, but it's a shame because I kind of wanted to go to Lightwater Valley this year because I haven't done the Ultimate. Zoe hasn't done the Ultimate.
It's a joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a big joke on our channel that the Ultimate's my favorite roller coaster, and I haven't done it. So next year.
What about you, Luke? Have you been on the Ultimate?
I can't say I have. In fact, I seem to have this habit where I kind of gloss over the European parks. I know that's a bit of a cardinal sin, but if I'm not in America or Japan, I most recently found myself over in Europe. Obviously, following all of the procedures and everything. Sure. But I would like to give some love to some of these local parks. But who knows? You never know. Maybe we'll get a Zen ride on the Ultimate just to spite Harry and Zoe.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Let's plan a meetup. With the way that flights are right now, they're so inexpensive. At least in the United States, I'll fly over there for probably like $15. Let's all go ride the Ultimate. We'll force them to open the Ultimate.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll
I like that idea.
Pitchforks and torches, and we'll be like, open it up. Don't you know who this is? This is LukeE94 and CoasterBot, and then just some little guy named the Ambassador. But anyway, open up. But
I'm sure that'll do. Yeah, why not?
And for those of you who don't know, let's go ahead and have you guys both explain what your channels do. Harry, CoasterBot, Harry, Zoe, what do you? If people don't know who Harry and Zoe are from CoasterBot, then you guys are nuts. But just in case there's that weird person in who knows Timbuktu who doesn't know, why don't you explain your channel?
I always find it really hard to explain what my channel is. So we make theme park videos and roller coaster videos that kind of tell you a bit behind the scenes of rides and talk through the statistics of rides, how rides work, why they do things, all of that kind of gist, more of a very technical look at rides and roller coasters.
Informative videos.
Informative, educational, always from the perspective of kind of trying to get more and more people into roller coasters and theme parks. So we'll have topics that kind of teach you the basics, and then ranging up and up and up to more kind of sophisticated elements like block sections and understanding how block sections work and stuff like that. But we've got loads of other different content. We do videos on YouTube, but we also do a podcast, CoasterBot Rambles. Then we do a blog on our website as well. So we've kind of been expanding, but
bits and bobs.
Yeah, mainly informative videos is the main gist.
Yeah, and I think the irony there is when you said, "What is CoasterBot?" I was like, "Yes."
Yeah,
That's it.
so people love that one. People love that one. Yeah,
very, very good. And what about you, Luke?
So effectively, my channel was always going to be predominantly roller coasters. However, somewhere in the mix, I found myself flying to Japan to snowboard Mount Fuji, visit an island full of bunny rabbits, and basically just do all sorts of other crazy stuff. So most of the content is theme park related, but I like to try and do things that capture the essence, you know, the magic of going to a park without actually having to go over there. So whether it conveys well or not, who knows, but I've always got a smile on my face. So hopefully that's good enough.
And I think another aspect about LukeE94 is him being able to provide kind of very affordable ways or some tips and tricks on how to travel very economically to go to theme parks or whatever. I most recently, like you were in like, did you end up going to Turkey?
So I was actually planning to go this week, but after sort of hearing news about what happened in Beirut and things, I know that's not necessarily near the area. I just thought perhaps that might kind of conflict with travel plans. But for those interested, you know, there are flights going for, I think, around about £40. But, you know, I've been taking flights to Hamburg for £15, Poland for £9.99. All of your audience are probably thinking, what's he talking about? How heavy is the money in England? Why is it weighed in pounds? But yeah, you know, like I say, my main area of expertise when I'm not uploading is finding good deals. So.
Yeah, so check out his channel definitely if you want to find out some really good deals, especially for anybody who wants to go over to the European parks or even in the UK and visit some parks there. And then you say, hey, I want to pop over to Energylandia or something like that. There you go. You can figure out where to go. Well, also, Harry and Zoe, you guys have been traveling around a lot recently as well. Like what parks have you been to within the last week or so? And what can you tell us about the procedures that the parks are taking for like COVID and things like that?
Did you go for it?
So we went to Alton Towers and Portland's Park, which we'd never been to before. Mm-hmm. They had quite a lot of stuff in place, didn't they? They had hand sanitizer everywhere. Portland's even made like outdoor sink areas that were kind of like just set up so you could wash your hands all the time. Batching rides without people near each other. Masks when we went weren't compulsory at Portland's, but now they are in the shops and things like that. But they were on rides on Alton Towers, so there was quite a lot of stuff, and obviously social distancing in the queues and everything. But it was kind of luck of the draw, like whether people were actually doing it or not. So, but yeah, it wasn't too bad, was it?
No. Yeah, they've got stuff like capacity as well, obviously limiting the amount of people who can get into these parks. So you'll find that often it just isn't as busy as it might be normally. But yeah, I think, as you said, it's kind of hit and miss. It's all up to the people, right? And whether the people follow these guidelines. So some rides at Alton Towers, say, were pretty good and people were following. Yeah. Like first thing we did was the Smiler and people did seem to be following that pretty well. But then other rides later in the day, Wickham Out, for example, some people weren't so great. So, but most of the parks that we've been to are trying their utmost best to kind of enforce the rules. Like at Paulton's Park, we even saw a staff member holding a sign saying, you know, please try your best to socially distance. Yeah. So these parks are trying their best, or many of them are trying their best, but ultimately it's up to us to follow the rules and keep within the guidelines. But no, it's been good to get back to parks for sure.
It didn't really take much away from the experience too much, so it was still good.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because, you know, not every park here in the United States is open. My home park, Six Flags Magic Mountain, is still not open, and so we're a little bit jealous of you know, at least the UK, because like you're saying everything's open, but it's good to hear that at least, you know, they're you know, taking every precaution and really encouraging people. And you can't force everybody, you know. It's you've seen that places around here too. You'll just get one or two people who are like, because I guess the exception at some parks, I know they're changing it, but like if you're actively eating or drinking, you don't have to wear a mask. And so there's someone just holding like a half drank coffee with like this much left. I'm just taking my time. You know, it's like it's kind of funny, but
trying to break the rules.
Yeah. And then Luke, I know you were in Energylandia just recently, and then Legendia. how were the crowds there? I know you're not a fan of people smoking in line. That was kind of fun to watch, but.
Well, I mean, to be honest, that was always kind of something that I sort of did. I was intertwining, my personal opinions with sort of a light-hearted kind of comedic concept, and I was always worried that people might, if I've got any fans that do happen to enjoy smoking, they would take it the wrong way. My main worry about that is that in order to smoke, you have to take your mask off and things. And for some strange reason, whether I was waiting for Flushon Novgorod or the Swedish Cannon or any of these other rides that I went on, I was always the person that was standing right behind the smokers. And obviously with a little bit of a language barrier, in Poland specifically, I couldn't say anything. Whereas in Germany, I was fine. I speak a little bit of German. And Spain, that wasn't a problem. But I think it's just more common etiquette. I don't know if that's just because Harry, Zoe and I are British, whether we're just born with good manners, but
I think that is a trait though, isn't it? Especially in queues. We love queuing. So if someone's not queuing
just
properly.
wants to be polite, isn't it?
Exactly. If someone's not queuing properly, then everyone looks at them, starts tutting.
Frowning.
Yeah.
Well, to quote what I said in when I was in Germany, in Phantasialand, I actually said the only thing worse than an angry German is an angry Brit who speaks German. Because a lot of them, they'll tell you, oh no, I'm smoking, it's fine, let me do my thing. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm British, let me do my thing.
Right. Well, I think that's funny. But over here in the United States, we're a little more strict on smoking, and so they've actually converted, at least the parks that are open, they've converted most of the designated smoking areas into relaxation zones where you can take your mask off. And I thought that was kind of clever until I have friends as well that do smoke, and they're like, well, what are we supposed to do? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, if you happen to find yourself in Energylandia anytime soon, fingers crossed for you, they actually do have allocated smoking areas that are surrounded by really nice trees and foliage. And it's a shame because, people would love to have that as like a botanical garden or somewhere to drink tea or something. Well, that was British, wasn't it? I don't even drink tea, but you know what I mean. But these people, they just come here, they completely disregard them and just start smoking in front of you, and you think, well, hang on a minute, like,
yeah.
But there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate both of you turning up the Britishness of this episode so that it can justify the British.
I think it's just natural though, isn't it? I think it's difficult for us to not say stuff like that. So
well, hopefully, and I'm such a parrot, hopefully by the end of this chat, I am not doing my horrible British impersonation. So I will spare you from that. I showed Sean Sandbrook that when he was out here, and he was like, oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm like, I still felt embarrassed. It's embarrassing. But let's move on to a happier topic than smoking areas in a park. Have you guys been keeping the pulse on what's like the new coasters that have been built? And if so, what are you most excited to see open? Whether it was supposed to open this year and got pushed, or was always supposed to open in 2021 or beyond. What about you, Harry and Zoe? What's something you've been keeping your eye on?
I mean,
I was going to say Tornado Springs.
Yeah, in the UK, it's Storm Chaser at Paulton's Park.
Yeah, because we saw it when we were there, and obviously it wasn't open, but it looks so good. So yeah, definitely that.
There's also what some people are dubbing Flamingossus or Flamingo Colossus, basically, because obviously Flamingo Land is getting a new Intamin 10 inversion coaster, which I imagine now is probably meant to open next year. So those are two exciting things in the UK. I mean, outside of the UK, been trying to keep up with Wallaby Belgium building their new hypercoaster. I don't know if you guys have seen that. The non-inverting Cobra roll. I don't know who came up with that element, but it just looks insane. Like the amount of roll it has at some of the parts is just crazy. So that's definitely one to watch. Don't know. I'm trying to think what else is going on.
Well, it's mainly the London Resort, but that's so far away that it's kind of, you feel a bit skeptical about it, but it's exciting anyway.
London Resort is an interesting one. There's been quite a lot of that going on in the news recently, especially in the UK. Many media outlets dubbing it the UK's Disneyland, which really triggers some people. I'm not one of those people because I don't know, I can just understand that these people are trying to get people to look at their site.
Yeah, and also it's kind of the equivalent of what a Disney park is.
Yeah, it's the same scale,
Yeah.
you know, the same vibe, really. So it's as much Disney as you can get without having Mickey Mouse standing right in front of you. So, yeah, I think those are the main ones that we've been keeping an eye on. I haven't really been seeing too much going on in the States other than like Candemonium, that opening in Orion. Those two I've been keeping an eye on, but outside of that, no.
Nice. Well, you know, can you give a little more insight with our audience about this London project? This is the first I've heard of it, actually.
Go on, so you know more than I do, I think.
Essentially, they're building, well, they have not planning permission, but they've been going through the early stages of kind of getting approval for this park near London. So I think it's 20 minutes on the train from London. 17
minutes specifically, yeah.
And it's going to be this massive resort with hotels, shopping, basically Disney, but in London. And it's not Disney, it's Paramount, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they've got a few different kind of IPs.
Yeah.
It's Paramount, BBC, ITV, and a few others. I can't really remember them, but a few different IP brands that they could choose from. But yeah, the plans long term are for 2 theme parks. The first one to open in 2024, and the second to open in 2029 if that first park is successful.
Yeah.
With, you know, loads of rides, and they're hoping to get attendance of like 11 million a year. So they're big plans with, you know, big roller coasters and themed rides to both brands and IPs and kind of new ideas as well. Yeah,
and the lands that they've told us about are like kind of Englishy kind of theme. So there's like a forest or jungle one, and then there's like an enchanted one. So kind of like they also had castles and King Arthur type stuff. So it's kind of inspired by England in a way.
Sure.
But then they also have IPs in it as well.
Yeah. But it's been going on since 2012, this development. So many people are very skeptical, that it's not going to open.
It's kind of ramped up a bit now, hasn't it? Because they had a public consultation.
And a few years ago, they got this guy called P. Wild board, who had turned around other projects in the past. So he turned around Disneyland Paris, for example, the Millennium Dome in London as well. Yeah. So he has a very good track record of turning around these projects that haven't been going very well and making them successful. So fingers crossed, in 2024, we'll have a big new theme park.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, cool. I'm going to do a little more research on that. That's funny. I'd never heard of that. But then again, I'm sure you'd never heard of some things in California as well. That, you know, like, anyway. Luke, so what about you? Anything exciting that you've been, you know, any parks or coasters around the world that you've got your eye on?
So originally I'd planned to, as you know, visit Turkey. Based on when this is posted, either I have or I haven't because of current events. But alongside that, I was also planning on going back to Hansa Park in September, as the park is open until 8 p.m. But alongside that, I recently discovered in Denmark, if you fly into Copenhagen, there's a park up there with a ride that's arguably, I wouldn't say a clone of Hagrid's at Universal, but it's a pretty good iteration. And I thought I'd hit that up along with some of the other parks. I believe Tivoli Gardens is that way as well, if I'm not mistaken. And then cross down over the border into Hansa Park, as it's literally about a 2-hour drive from Denmark into Germany. So that's my plans. But unfortunately, I have not heard very much news of the England parks, because for some reason I tend to sort of spread my wings a bit.
Yeah, like the one in Paulton's Park, it's called the Spinning Tornado, or no, it's called
Storm Chaser.
Storm Chaser, like very original name. We know Storm Chaser.
Yeah.
But that's supposed to be like a clone of Time Traveler, right? Something very similar.
Sierra Sidewinder.
Oh, more like a Sierra Sidewinder. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wish it was a Mack Extreme Spinning Coaster. That would be something else, yeah, for sure. But no, just a bog standard spinning coaster. Yeah.
Have either of you seen the Jurassic coaster that's going to be built at Universal in Orlando? What are your thoughts on that? That's the one that I think, at least to me, and in the enthusiast community in the United States, people didn't see coming. Like maybe a few people did, but everyone was excited for Iron Gwazi. people were excited for Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and then all of a sudden, and speaking of Hagrid's, I mean, they had just built Hagrid's and had been getting praise, and the next thing you know, here comes Intamin again with this crazy, I guess they're dubbing it the Velocicoaster. What are your thoughts on this interesting Intamin, at least the resurgence of Intamin in the United States, at least?
I'll let Harry take over with this one, as he's the man with the expertise.
That's right.
Sure. Yeah, looks really good. I think a lot of people were a bit skeptical about if it was going to be good or not, because we saw the initial or some people created initial kind of POVs of the renders and all of that. And it was a bit like, yeah, this could have potential. But the more it's being built, the more kind of, as you said, Intamin have just gone a bit wild with some of the elements that they're doing. Especially kind of like that wave turn that's like sideways airtime hill. I really don't think people expected that at all.
Right.
And then you've got that really low to the ground heartline roll that just looks like it whips you through, kind of like the old one on
Maverick.
Yes, Maverick, exactly. I think it has real potential to be one of the best roller coasters in the world, for sure.
I think so too. I mean, you add in the theming that they're going to be doing as well, because it's a Universal property. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. And Intamin is just, again, they're becoming my favorite. They've always been my favorite manufacturer, just because they take those risks, and they don't always pay off, but I like that. And what's interesting is also with going back to the Pantheon, is that they've borrowed and copied a lot of elements from RMC. Like the Pantheon has, it has a stall, but it's like it's an elongated stall. They're like, well, we see you, RMC. We're going to make your stall like way better. So it's like, I know a few people who are kind of bothered by the fact that they're kind of copying and playing catch up, but no, I think it only benefits us. It's like Apple and Samsung or something like that. Just you give and take, and until we come out with some absolutely crazy coaster that just benefits us as the enthusiasts. But they also just recently announced, speaking of big playing copycats, a whole bunch of interesting new ride concepts. Luke, did you see these?
I did actually, and I'm looking at Velocicoaster now, and I'm thinking, that's right.
Hi, wife.
So hi, wife. Like, comment, subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. All right, go ahead.
So basically, the clones that were announced. I mean, they say consumption. Let me rephrase that. They say competition is good for the consumer, which I do agree with. However, I do believe that adhering to a compact form factor, if someone's already cornered that area of the market, I think it's important to try and innovate or create something perhaps that people haven't already experienced 100 times. So I'm looking at Velocicoaster perhaps as like a save from grace, but at the same time, it's going to be its own experience. It's not going to be, for example, El Toro, which is plagued as being an awesome prefab. Based on what I've experienced with Colossus at Heidi Park, it's not that it's a prefab that makes El Toro good. It's just an incredible ride in itself. So I think Velocicoaster is going to be a fantastic Intamin. Whereas some of these new ones that they're coming out with, I think they're just kind of reinventing the wheel, or adding a non-inverting 0G roll to the wheel.
Although they are adding that upside down launch, which is crazy. That still hasn't been done yet. Like when they
sorry, what?
Yes, on their compact model. I forgot what it's called. It's the one that's basically copying the Premier Skyrocket model.
Yeah, the upside down launch.
Yes, they're going to be launching upside, and it's like when they announced that, in my opinion, I was like, wait, yeah, that's right. That hasn't been done before. Why hasn't that been done before? It makes so much sense. I think the closest coaster that I've been on to that has some sort of launch like that would have been Volcano, the Blast Coaster. That did have maybe it was inverted. I don't know, but it was pretty close. I think that's a clever idea. But yes, to your point, Luke, like my partner here in Theme Park ERT, John Days Can Plays, he actually is quite upset with the new designs. He just feels like if you were at a position at Intamin, you've been went through engineering school and did everything, you finally land that job at Intamin, and then they're like, copy and paste. That it would be kind of a disappointment to that brand new coaster designer. But I don't know. I think it kind of makes sense just to be in a market that they're really not in, and they can still go crazy. I mean, they still have at least rumors that crazy Giga Strata shuttle coaster that's going to go to Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. I don't know if you saw that or not, but like they're calling it Draken Spire or whatever they're calling it.
Yes, they are, aren't they? Yeah,
that's a good name.
Weird.
That looks really weird. But
talking about the copies that Intamin have been doing. I don't know. Referencing phones again. Samsung, Apple. Yeah. I think with those two, Samsung's always the one who innovates, and Apple perfects it and improves it. And I think it should be the same. So obviously RMC have made these designs, which I'm going to put down the fact that RMC is not perfect at anything. I really don't like their train design. And I feel like when RMC have an ethos that if it works, then it's fine. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Whereas Intamin have the ethos of, let's just keep tweaking things for no reason until it gets better, But the new designs, I don't think are better. They're just very samey, aren't they? They just look identical, but slightly different. And I think that's kind of the downside of these direct copies, is they're not really improving. They are just copying. So...
Yeah, I'm actually really glad you said that, Harry, because it's one of these things where everyone thinks RMC, I rode Steel Vengeance, they're all perfect. I myself, actually, I'm not necessarily the hugest fan, once again, because of the trains. However, you have to make time and experience Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Those Gerstlauer trains. That's
Gerstlauer for you, man. Quality manufacturer. You can't go wrong. No, yeah, I can see that. The Gerstlauer trains for the RMCs look millions of times better, just more open, better restraints, I don't know, just a more modern train design instead of these boxy wooden looking trains from the 1920s.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know how it goes. I'm about to ride the new Texas Giant, and they have the Gerstlauer trains. That's the OG RMC. Yeah. So I'm excited to give that a try. But isn't that the one that also had the incident?
That is the one that did have the accident. However, they've tried to alleviate that, obviously with making various enhancements. The one thing that I think is it's quite distasteful to me is when you go up to the station, it actually makes chicken noises. It's like, if you're too much of a chicken to ride, if you don't want to lose your life, you're a chicken. And I thought that was kind of distasteful, but I think that's just a Texan thing, like, yeehaw, partner, saddle up, let's roll.
Well, I mean, and they have the other Woody at the park that's called Judge Roy's Scream, which is hilarious. It's like, at the very top, it doesn't say like, hands down, stay in your seat. It says, it's like appeal denied or something. Like, that's so Texas.
They've also got at the park, funnily enough, a mini mine train, and I didn't actually get to ride that because I happened to go at the same day Mr. Beast was there, and someone had bought out the ride, and I was like, well, hang on a minute, who's got enough money to buy out an entire roller coaster? And lo and behold, last one who gets off gets 20 grand. Wow. Cool.
I saw that video.
I was stood there. I saw them filming. I was literally like, I had my shirt on and everything, the infamous LukeE94 shirt.
Yeah.
But, didn't make the cut, unfortunately.
Well, there's only two people. There's only two people who could buy out a ride, and that's Mr. Beast and then Coaster Studios, right? Just kidding. We love you, Taylor.
I've met up with Taylor, Sean, Alex, and Brett from Theme Park Worldwide. Harry, me and you were at Alton Towers on opening day last year, but I think that was the day you joined Wicker Man and you was like stuck there all day.
I find Alton Towers is an awful park to try and meet up with people in, just because it's so big that you can never cross people's paths. Even if you try to, it's awful. But no, we were stuck in Wicker Man's queue for about 3.5 hours. Stupid decision. I don't know why we did that, but
I think the one thing about being an influencer is, you like to sort of keep in touch with people and, make it so like people that are watching, they're your friends, just hang out with just regular people. But I think the hardest thing is when you want to like work with people or, go on trips, like I did last year with the Coaster Idiots. It's very difficult to coordinate with everyone's sort of lives and things. So the one thing I would love to see happen in the community is more kind of like hanging out as friends rather than looking at it as a potential business opportunity. So that's why I've sort of taken a bit of a back burner on just churning out content and more kind of, you know, getting to know the people that enjoy my stuff. So yeah, it's good to know that obviously, like you say, you guys have seen a few things, and you know, if there are any areas you can work on, let me know.
Well, it's good ethos to have, you know, continuously improving. I really rate people who do that.
Yeah, no,
because not everyone is up for that yet.
Absolutely. And you know, I think that when you do that, it also just reinvigorates the reason why we became enthusiasts in the first place. You know, like we kind of put the parks and the rides and the friendship first, and then we take out our cameras. Like, for a good example of this is when West Coast Racers opened in Six Flags Magic Mountain. A lot of people were coming out, and that's my home park. I'm like 3 minutes from that park. And just all these different enthusiasts started coming out, and we just all started hanging out. And at one point, it was like OVC, Taylor from Coaster Studios, Theme Park Obsession, Parks Bros. Who else was there? A couple of people. There was like a whole bunch. There was probably like 20 of us, and we were just riding rides together. And then like at one point we're like, oh yeah, we should probably start vlogging this, but we didn't. We were having too much fun, just being together. And like we took a whole train of one of the kiddie credits. We took every single seat, and and I think that's just as much as important to the enthusiast community as, you know, like the business opportunity is, because what was fun is that you could see just the random GP who were looking at some of these individuals and they knew them. And they're like, wait. And that was kind of fun because, you know, it was fun for those guests to see that. And then it was also just fun for the enthusiasts to just, you know, nerd out with each other, I guess is the best way to say it. But I mean,
it's definitely a humbling experience, you know, when you get recognized and things.
Sure.
Obviously it's a bit difficult with the masks, but I was actually, when I left Hansa Park, I was waiting for the bus, and I said to this guy, I spoke to him in German, I said, you know, are you okay? Are you waiting? Blah, blah, blah. And he recognized me. He said, hang on a minute, and started talking about El Toro Ryan. And it was quite surreal to go to a place where, you know, I'm in a foreign country. I didn't expect anyone from Germany would, you know, be in my audience. And then I ended up meeting a week later one of his friends in Poland. So it just goes to show, you know, the power of connectivity. Speaking of connectivity, absolutely. I highly recommend Zoom Pro, because we're coming up to the 40-minute mark. So we're going to take a quick break.
Is that over?
But you know, it's also great, Luke. For some reason, Zoom popped up a message and said, hey, as a gift to you, I'm going to give you an additional 40 minutes. And it said, would you like to accept? And I said, yes. Like a pro, I did it all silently.
There you go. Happy day.
So we're good. So here's
Excellent.
another edit point. Editing is fun. But I wish all of us could edit as good as Harry Davies does. Oh my goodness gracious. But you have an editor now, right? You got someone that's helping you out with editing, or it's all you?
No, it's all this guy spending way too much time editing videos.
Your editing is fantastic as always.
It's I'm just have a everything has to be perfect kind of outlook on things, you know. Like I'll spend sometimes 15 minutes deciding a 6-second clip just because I try and make sure that every clip has a purpose, you know. Like obviously I want to show what I'm talking about, but some clips will show that better than others, you know. I needed someone pulling down their restraint, but I might want a specific type of restraint or them to pull it in a certain motion. And it all takes so long to do, but the outcome is good. So I guess it's worth it in the end.
No, that's true. I actually professionally, what I do as a job is I'm a post-production supervisor, which is just a fancy way of saying I'm the boss of editors for television. And the reason why I became that is because I know good editing when I see it, but I am not a good editor.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm the same as you, Harry. Like I am way too meticulous. I am too slow. And for the television environment, I wouldn't survive. So I switched over to become the boss, and I'm like, chop. Come on, let's get this going. We're on a deadline here. So I say I recognize good editing when I see it. And Luke was saying that he finds a way around good editing by just shooting things as live and as in camera as possible, which is so smart. I should do that more.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my latest attempt at kind of reaching out to a new demographic. Is I've put YouTube on the back burner during obviously current events and things, in a way to kind of experience the parks firsthand for myself, but to also keep people updated through Instagram stories and, you know, do little polls and things, so they feel more kind of like they're there with me. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, you only get the full experience when you go to the parks, but it allows people to see these places in a whole new light, because I'm actually interested to see if any of you guys have ever watched a video of a park, gone to the park, and then when you watch the video again, it looks different to how you remembered seeing it initially.
I've been to parks where I've watched footage of it beforehand, and then you rock up and you go, hold on a minute, this looks way different to what I just saw. You know, I don't know, you piece together a layout of this park based on what you've seen, and then it isn't the case. I had that with Gardaland, where I'd only seen kind of like small pieces, so I'd recognize, oh, I've seen that before, but I really didn't expect it to be over there. I thought it would be over here, you know. So I get what you mean. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that was me with Cedar Point. You know, I didn't go to Cedar Point for my first time until a year ago, you know, which is a thing in itself. But yeah, same thing. Like I had like virtually walked through that entire park with videos and Google Earth and all that different stuff. And then when upon arrival, which is still an amazing, you've been there, right, Luke?
I certainly have. Yeah, it took me 5 visits before I was brave enough to ride Top Thrill Dragster. I did it.
But as you're going, it's one of those parks that as you're approaching it, just the skyline is just like, you keep, oh my gosh. But yes, when I got in, it was completely, like you were saying, Harry, it was like, whoa, wait a minute. Oh, Gatekeeper isn't as big as I thought it was going to be. Oh, wait, there's a Midway. Like it was very, very interesting. Yeah. But, you know, I think that can be a good thing and a bad thing. You know, like sometimes it takes you by surprise in a good way. Like, oh, this is much better than I thought it was, or from the videos. And yes, I'm guilty of watching POVs of rides that I haven't ridden before. I know I shouldn't, but boy, do I love to watch POVs of a coaster I've never ridden before I ride it. I need to just...
I think we're all guilty of that, to be honest.
I know some people who don't do it. I know some people who are like,
how.
I don't know how they do it either. I mean, you know, but I have watched every Six Flags Over Texas POV now, so... But
there are 2 coasters that I've seen POVs of that when you go back to watch them after riding the attractions, you're convinced you're watching at a double speed. Like you can almost feel like, you know, that you're on the ride now that you've experienced it. The first is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure, and the second is Let Coaster at Legendia. And I have to say, I am hands down blown away by the Bermuda Blitz model by Vekoma. Considering what they've come from, you know, their humble origins of SLCs and not SLCs, you know, it blew me away, and it's definitely a top 5 coaster for me. It actually goes one place above Egenica now, even though they're completely different things.
It's interesting.
But, yeah, it's intense.
Yeah, those new Vekoma models are something that I'm really excited to try. I don't know if they're going to make them over to the US. If they do, they might be under the S&S banner. I don't know, but I would love to see one come over to the States. But yeah, I mean, those, I mean, like you were saying, Vekoma has really turned around. Are they built? They're building another one. Oh, Energylandia, right? Isn't that the?
I believe they're building some kind of coaster there called Aqualantis.
Yes, it's
and
like
there's 3 rides.
Yeah, I think that might be the area. I think it's like Abyssus or something. Is the name of the ride.
That's the one. Yep.
Yeah, so what's
Abyssus
it?
Or
double
Abyssus
launch coaster? I don't know. It's spelt weirdly, like ABYSUS or something, or double SUS.
YMCA.
Might as well be. But yeah, and I think it's a double launch coaster. So yeah, it looks really good though.
Yeah, you know, and I, a lot of people say that the coaster wars are over, and they may very well be, but I really like seeing this resurgence of the old is new again. I don't know if you'd call that a war, but it's more, maybe we can call it a renaissance of just coaster design and really pushing the envelopes. And I really do think, I mean, I know like we were saying that RMC isn't perfect, but I will give them credit for pushing the boundary, going, there's got to be more, you know, and that maybe that's Alan Schilke, and credit to Fred Grubb for allowing, you know, Alan Schilke to do so. But I mean, now you have like S&S that's innovating with all sorts of interesting new stuff, and the Intamins and now the Vekomas, and you know, who knows, we might, end up seeing, like an SBF Visa that'll blow our minds. Wait, we already have the one with the hamster wheel.
Was that the one at IAPA?
That was one at IAPA, and I actually got to see that, the very first one installed in person. It's in Michigan, in the most random park. It's called Craig's Cruisers. It's basically just like a little miniature golf and like go-kart area in a place called Silver Lake, Michigan. I'm telling you, want to talk about just a small place. And then they bought an SBF Visa, the one with the hamster wheel. And I went there and I was excited to ride it because I texted them and I called them and said, is it open? And is it open? They said, yes, yes, yes. I get there and it was down.
Classic.
I had to drive an hour out of my way. I drove an hour out of my way to ride that thing, but oh well. But what I was saying is, like, the whole point is that we're going to start seeing more, and Intamin's already showing it, but I think we're going to see more invention and more pushing of the limit, because now that's what you're going to have to do to be, profitable. And hopefully B&M, I mean, B&M has a little bit with Orion, they've now added that sort of like wave turn, after the first airtime hill. But yeah, what do you guys think? What do you think? Who's going to be the next, I guess, Vekoma to the side. Who do you think is going to be the next innovator?
I'd like to think that after seeing Intamin go down this path of kind of arguably reinventing the wheel / innovating on an already solid concept, I would like to see them take us by surprise, and perhaps follow up with, right, all of these small investment capitals are to fund something even bigger. But I still have faith. I'm holding out that RMC will invest in a T-Rex. I mean, they've said it themselves that they could do it, but I feel like I'd like to see them collaborate with, say, similar to Gerstlauer and RMC, maybe SNS, considering what they did to Arrow's multi-dimensional coaster. Yeah. I'm holding out for a collaboration with them. So,
well, that's
wishful thinking.
That's probably pretty likely because Ride Centerline, that's Alan Schilke's design company, they also designed for SNS, and so that there's some crossover there. So, and they'll, and RMC makes the SNS free spin track, and we can see. What do you think, Harry and Zoe? What do you think? Who do you think is the next innovator?
You got any ideas?
No.
But let's go back to B&M before, like talking about companies not keeping up. Kind of, I think B&M will have no problem not keeping up because they don't do that anyway, and they've still got tons of rides lined up for places like China for the foreseeable future. And I think B&M are so solid that you can't buy a bad B&M. They're always, everything about them, they might be predictable, but they move people through the queue lines like no other manufacturer can. You buy an RMC and you're buying a low capacity ride, let's be honest. B&M would never sell you anything like that. B&M would never sell you Steel Vengeance that churns out, I've heard horror stories of less than 500 people an hour. For apparently the world's best roller coaster, that sounds pretty bad. So I think B&M, no problem. Someone to watch, and perhaps some of the best manufacturers right now, Mack Rides, I would say.
Yep,
they've been doing some really good stuff. Yeah, with Time Traveler, obviously. You've got the Mack Power Splash, Pulsar. You've got their weird Gerstlauer ripoff of the, what is it called? Big Dipper coaster. Don't know how I feel about that one. It's okay. But yeah, I think Mack, I would see Mack as a refined Intamin, where they, try new things, but they don't get it as wrong as Intamin do, if that makes sense.
To go back to
the quality is usually better.
Yeah, to go back to the what you were saying about Apple and Samsung, like I think that Mack is going to be the Apple in the scenario. They see what's been done and they go, how can we make this perfect? Like,
and they do make it perfect.
Look at their hypercoasters. Look at their hypercoasters that they've come out with, and then they're like, hey, you know what would be really great on a hypercoaster? Let's build the world's tallest loop on the hypercoaster. Like, what? Yeah, I think you're right. Mack is probably going to surprise us. Right now, we're all stoked for Vekoma with good reason. We're all stoked on Intamin just because we're all just Tim just kind of like, look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, it's like, you're crazy. The crazy uncle that you just love to hang around, but don't want to stay at your house for too long. But Mock, yeah, I think Mock's going to come in and really just come up with something. Mock might make a giga and just go, we see your gigas and check out our giga. And it's going to just be, it'll have a backwards spinning seat in the back train. You know, that's probably what
that'd be cool, wouldn't it? I think you might die on that if it was a giga.
That was actually my main reason for going to Turkey when I discovered that Hypercoaster was more than just a hypercoaster, as you say, boasting one of the world's tallest loops, tied with the clone in China.
Yeah.
And yeah, for those wondering, it's the countries in Europe tend to be easier to have layovers. For example, you can get flights to Abu Dhabi for £96 return if you have like a 10-hour stay in Budapest. So in order to experience Hypercoaster, fly to Europe, come visit myself, Harry and Zoe here, and then jump on a flight to Istanbul and yeah, come check it out with me.
Get your passport in order. But
oh yeah.
Well, let's go back. I'd like to find out a little bit more about you guys and your coaster falling in love with coasters and theme parks. Luke, what started it for you? What was that moment where you knew that you just wanted to have this lifestyle? Like what did it for you?
Well, basically, as a child, I always thought one day I wanted to grow up and travel the world, and, you know, ride these crazy coasters, more as a test to see if I could be brave enough to do it. You know, I remember seeing videos years and years and years ago of Goliath at Magic Mountain, thinking one day when I'm big and strong, I'm going to ride that. Here I am, big and scarily weak. Yeah, and I've done it. So, and then basically in 2018, I applied to be a summer camp counselor with Camp America, and I found that I got paid to teach kids how to drive go-karts in the week. And then on my days off, I'd go to Six Flags New England in Massachusetts and basically just eat ice cream and ride roller coasters. And then ever since then, it just kind of took off. I wanted to share it with the world just to, you know, I felt selfish having all the fun. And I never intended to profit of it. Unfortunately, I don't yet, you know, subscribe.
Wow.
And,
I like that. That was good.
But yeah, I just want to do it. And like I say, my main goal is just to hang out with people, you know, like I don't want to be some guy that people look up to and think, oh, you're amazing, you're incredible. I want to think like you're that guy that has an amazing life that I can be part of. And yeah, basically for the last 2 years, I've just been going all over the world, met up with several YouTubers, and I actually met up with the guy, coming back to my other type of content, the guy I watched snowboard down Mount Fuji. He heard about me and we had a beer in Yokohama. And his name is Eric Surf 6, if you want to check him out.
Wow. That's so cool. That's so cool,
It's
man.
the closest thing to riding a roller coaster is snowboarding down a volcano, especially if you haven't got any experience. And I literally flew there, bought a snowboard, and up I went. And then down I went, swiftly on my bum.
That's great. Now, Luke, thanks so much for sharing. What was your first roller coaster that you ever rode?
I was actually asking my mum that the other day because it was either Flying Fish at Thorpe Park, Vogel Rock, which is like the dark coaster, Efteling, or it would have been the, I should know this, you'll be mad at me for not knowing this, the name of the, is it Runaway Mine Train at Disney in Paris? The cowboy train
Big Thunder Mountain
ride? That's the one.
Big
yeah.
Thunder Mountain. Okay, got it.
I definitely knew that.
and then,
but, so it was either one of those three.
What was the first coaster that you remember riding that had the biggest influence on you? Was it going to be Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain, or?
It was Superman at Six Flags New England, because I rode that and I said to myself, I can't fulfill this dream. I'm too scared. Like, this scared me so much, because even though, you know, we've got a coaster here in England, the big one, which is very similar. Yeah, very big and very similar to Magnum XL with a few changes.
Yeah.
But yet this coaster, what you guys do with 200 feet over there is incredible, considering it's like your norm. Whereas I found personally the big one was that turn in the first drop. It takes out a lot of the forces. And as my friend said, I said, how did it make you feel? And he said, unsafe. So yeah, that was the moment where it all changed for me, because I was used to these big coasters in England that were big but were okay. And then you guys come along, and yeah, America, Eagles and freedom, and wow.
Eating barbecue.
I don't know what you did, but
shooting shotguns while we're at it. No,
I'm not coming anymore. That doesn't sound too good. No.
Well, now China's taken that right. China's like, whatever you want to build, let's do it. Like, crazy. Well, what about you, Harry and Zoe? Let's start with. I would like to hear from both of you actually individually. What got you into being an enthusiast, and then your first coaster, and then the coaster you remember that had the biggest influence on you?
Go on.
Shall I go first? Because mine's quite boring. Basically, it's Harry. I used to be absolutely terrified of coasters, even like tiny ones. I was always the one that held the bag. I would cry in the queue line, and my mum would try and make me go on, but I wouldn't go on. And then I met Harry, and what year was it? 2016?
15?
16. He made me go on Nemesis Inferno at Thorpe Park.
Yeah.
Because he
That's
thought
a good
basically.
one to go on.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
My first roller coaster was probably either Flying Fish, but the one I remember scaring me first that put me off them all was Colossus at Thorpe Park, because it's so janky and horrible, and even to this day I hate that ride. But so he thought if I went on Nemesis, then I know that they could be smooth, if that makes sense. And then once I'd gone on that, I thought, okay, this isn't too bad. And then you just kept making me go on all the other ones.
So then went on Swarm again, nice and
yeah.
smooth.
And once I went on Swarm, I was like, this is okay now, because I just didn't like the jankiness, and it put me off like any other ride. So yeah, that's how I got into it. So
you've kind of built up since then, haven't you?
Yeah.
Been to more and more places over the years.
Yeah, and now I'm dead to the feeling of roller coasters.
Yeah, well, aren't we all?
Yeah. So.
Well, Zoe, what's the craziest coaster that you've ridden so far in your mind?
Craziest in what way?
Either the one that just left an impression on you, like oh my, I can't believe I rode this one.
I think Stealth, to be honest.
Really?
Because again, obviously I grew up going to Thorpe Park and not going on all these rides, and Stealth was like the biggest, scariest looking one. And I still don't like it because it's just so tall. But yeah, I've been on it, so I think probably Stealth.
I think Big One would probably be a bad one for
yeah,
you
Big
as well.
One as well. Anything that's really tall and janky and makes you feel like you're going to just fly off of it.
Or a launch coaster, right? Because
not a big fan of that either. Unless it's like Helix or Icon, that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the mock launches are very, very timid.
Tame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you got Luke over here who's been on Eveningland. Or not Eveningland, Do-Dondonpa. Do-Dondonpa. But
when people ask me about that, I literally tell them it's like my soul fell out my bum.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for it to catch up. Like I'm gone, and it's just like, oh, I think I lost something.
Anyway.
But if you don't like jank, I'd definitely say make sure if you get the chance, head over to. I mean, if you're going to Japan, perhaps head over to LA and go from there, because that might be cheaper, and that way you'll get to experience both Arrow's iteration of the multi-dimensional coaster with X2, and then Egenica. But I'd be curious because I was always the same as I was scared of like you said, the janky feel. Yeah. And a lot of people complain about how rough the Raven turns are on X2, like because it's like it bangs your shins. But I rode it 39 times in a day, so like you said, I've become desensitized to it. But you'll be amazed at just how far the SNS have taken this concept. So try and ride both if you can. I'll get you some good deals.
It's on the agenda for sure.
Yeah.
So, and let me know when you guys are coming out. Like that's the whole reason why I have the moniker The Ambassador, is that I tend to treat people really well when they come to Six Flags Magic Mountain. I give them a very good time, show them around, make sure that they're having a wonderful time. So I was called The Ambassador for that very reason. So we welcome you out. But Harry, I don't want to miss out on your story.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine is interesting, I guess, but I think I've always been interested in roller coasters, even going back to when I was a kid. You know, I still always remember playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 and 2. Always remember going to theme parks with my school and being stupidly excited about that day. You know, always look forward to going to Alton Towers with my family. You know, we'd go like once or twice a year, and that would always be one of the highlights of the year. So then kind of as I got older, I started to follow the construction of some of the new rides coming to Alton Towers. So in 2009, I kind of followed the construction of 13, But mainly in 2012, when the Smiler was being built, I was hopping on forums like Towers Times, and then learning about this kind of culture of, well, there's loads of these other nerds who are also interested in roller coasters. And I thought, whoa, look at these guys, you know, they know so much. And I think that's kind of where it all sparked. But then after the Smiler got built, my interest in roller coasters kind of diminished. I was still interested in them, but as a community, I didn't find that there was much going on the forums, at least. So yeah, my kind of interest kind of diminished, but I was still watching people and roller coasters on the internet, but more kind of by myself. But then sadly, obviously the Smiler crash happened in 2015. And the first thing I did was hop onto the forums again and see what other people had to think of this. And honestly, since then, you know, like a month and a half later, I started Coasterbot. And since then I've been, you know, really into the community side of things. So
now you have your own community.
Exactly, yeah. So
yeah,
as bad as it sounds, in a way, the Smiler crash is the reason that Coasterbot exists, as like awful as that sounds, but it's just kind of how it came to be.
Sure.
But it's always been an underlying love for theme parks. I just needed the community aspect to kind of keep me engaged and keep me hooked. And as Zoe said, now we've got our own community on platforms like Discord, where we talk about roller coasters and theme parks, you know, every waking minute of the day. And that's what's kept me engaged in it over the past half a decade, I guess.
Mad.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And what was your first roller coaster you remember riding?
Oh, there's a ride at Drayton Manor, or was, I think it's called the Dragon. That might have been one of the first. Don't know. It might have been the Beastie at Alton Towers, which is like the exact same type of ride. It might be Pinfari. I don't know. I remember riding those two a lot. So I imagine that's probably it. In terms of the one that's left the biggest impression, I don't know. I guess the Smiler was probably riding that, and I thought, whoa, this is a roller coaster now, you know. And that was my number one for many years, until I rode Carnan and then realized, whoa, this is a roller coaster.
I'll second that. Number one.
It's something else, to say the least. Something else. Yeah.
Well, very, very good. You know, I love to just kind of get that background on Enthusiast, to see where they're going and where the enthusiasm was sparked. You know, that was the whole purpose of starting this show that we do this with Theme Park ERT, is that we wanted the ERT to not only stand for exclusive ride time, but we wanted to stand for all sorts of different things, like enthusiasts, ride warriors, thrill seekers, even like entertainers, ride ops, technicians. Just we wanted to talk about you guys, the enthusiasts, kind of highlight who you are. Less about me. I'm just kind of like steering the questions and whatever. I call myself a passive enthusiast. I don't have a very high coaster count. I don't know as much as Coasterbot when it comes to things like that.
Loads of people know more than I do. I think there's a perception that I know a lot because I write, you know, scripts, but I forget.
Have an awful memory.
I forget my own videos. Give me a few months, I can watch my own video and go, wow, that was really interesting. I learned so much.
You're like, I'm going to subscribe to this Coasterbot fella. Oh wait,
yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, though, I thank you all for sharing these personal moments, and so that your fans can get to know you a little bit better from a maybe a little more intimate setting. And I really appreciate you all for coming on. And I know it's a little bit in the late afternoon. No, what is it? Almost 5 o'clock there in the UK. So that's not too bad.
It's 4:21.
4:21.
Where I am.
All right. So, you know, it's just right about time to start thinking about a meal and all that fun stuff. So again, I want to thank you all for coming on, taking the time. I appreciate that. Luke, thank you so much. Hey, why don't you guys all throw out your social medias? Luke, go ahead and throw out all your social media accounts.
Sure. So basically, if it's got LukeE94 on it, it's me, except for Instagram. I'm the second one down because there's an Australian who stole my username. But
terrible.
You know, don't give him hate, but definitely steer more towards my channel if you're looking for a good, exciting time, I guess. But before I quickly move on to let Harry and Zoe plug themselves, obviously you know who they are. But I just wanted to mention, I believe you guys were going to do a year, was it the year of collaboration originally?
It is, yeah. I think it still is. We are trying our best.
We're trying.
I mean, go on.
You guys have done well. Basically, I saw the post when I was in Florida, and I was thinking about reaching out to you guys, but obviously it's a bit difficult because I'm sure you get bombarded with fans. But what I was going to say is, if your audience would be interested, obviously you've always got accommodation in the States, just from my family out there, and I can actually get you to meet and work with all of the Coaster idiots. So if that sounds like something you think you guys would like, yeah, we'll arrange something.
Definitely one day. I mean, the plans have
all gone out the window now.
Yeah.
This year, basically.
Yep. I really wanted to go to Japan. Like that's at the top of the list. Yeah. Just because it seems like such a unique place, both in terms of roller coasters, obviously, and then culture as well. So we're hoping to do quite a long time in Japan, more to even see the culture side, just to kind of, like you, Luke, we love traveling and experiencing different places. But obviously,
States is also up there.
It's on the list. It's on the list. Too many places.
I found a way how I
could
get in. There is a way you can get in right now, but I'm not going to risk it just for Hollywood Nights. And that was flying to Turkey for 2 weeks, and then you're exempt from the presidential proclamation. But
oh wow, you've thought of it
illegal,
all.
But it's a lot of work.
You've thought of it all. Yeah.
Well, even us who are closer to Hollywood Nights, like myself, I can't even make it out there. So it's unfortunate. But
next year, yeah, we'll see you all next year.
I would love 2021 is going to be the year that we're all going to be able to just and I was saying this in past roundtables, because of all the coasters that were supposed to open this year are being pushed, and like Halloween haunt events and stuff like that were supposed to open this year have all been pushed. 2021, if this stinking virus will go away or let us, 2021 is going to be an amazing year for the coaster community. It's going to be epic, and I hate to use that word because it's overused all the time. I'm looking at you, Epic Universe, but I think it'll be great. So I would love to meet up with everybody. If you're ever out in Six Flags Magic Mountain, I'm telling you, please let us know. We will take care of you out there, and we take you to Knott's. And I know, Harry, Drew from Parks Bros. We'll take you to Knott's. We'll take you to Disneyland. We'll hook you up. But why don't you go ahead and throw out your social medias, Harry and Zoe?
I think we're fortunate, unlike Luke, who had people steal his. We're Coasterbot on everything. So Twitter at Coasterbot, YouTube Coasterbot, Instagram at Coasterbot, Facebook
MySpace
Coasterbot. Not quite MySpace.
And Discord,
the phone book,
the chat.
Coasterbot.
Yeah, we've got a Discord server, which is discord.coasterbot.com. We have a website, coasterbot.com.
Yeah, it's all on the website if you just Google.
Yeah,
but
so
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, come along. If you're into Discord, join in. As I said, we talk about roller coasters. Have a really, really great community of people in there. So if you want to kind of get more involved with the community as a whole, or our side of the community, then it's a lovely place to go.
Absolutely, and I like the trying to bring the different countries together. We were just talking to Scott Bravenboer from Wallaby Holland. We had him on a show, and he was just saying, we've got our enthusiasts here in the Netherlands that are hungry to just meet new people. And I was actually trying to get Coaster Crazy on this episode today. The scheduling wasn't able to work out, but he's like, I have never even heard of your channel. And wait, you had Sean Sandbrook on your show? Like, who are you? I'm just a little guy that likes a coaster enthusiast. So, but if we could bring more people out, so go to Luke's page, go check out CoasterBot. For anybody who are our watchers from around the world who want to know more about the UK and the enthusiasts over there, go check them out. So again, thank you so much for joining our show. John Days Can Blaze is missed from our show. Everybody say, miss you, John. Sorry, John, that you couldn't be.
Miss you, John.
But
love you, John.
we're grateful that you guys took some time to join us via technology from across the ocean. It's awesome. What a great time to be alive. And on behalf of myself, Luke, and LukeE94 at CoasterBot, Harry and Zoe, I'm the ambassador, and this has been your Theme Park ERT.